Now let's move on to talk about industrial location factors. These are the factors that are important in making decisions regarding where you should put your production facilities. What are those factors that attract industry to them? So these are what we call industrial location factors. First, let's talk about raw materials. Raw materials are important for those industries that require a lot of raw materials. So we call these industries material intensive industries. Examples are oil refining. Uh, Oil refining requires input of crude oil. Without crude oil, you simply cannot do anything. So that is material intensive industries. Copper smelting. So to after you get the rough copper ore from the ground, you need to extract those copper elements from the ore to get rid of the impurities. This process is called smelting. Again, the input is copper ore. Without copper ore, you really cannot do anything with the copper industry. Same happened to iron concentration and iron steel industry. Again, they need all kind of input, not only iron ore, but also the coke, the other minerals and other energies as well. So you have coke, coal, and also there's this material that you need, all kind of minerals that you would need in the steel furnaces that you need them. Therefore, these are to avoid long distance to transfer these very heavy materials, those industries should be close to the site of raw materials. Okay. Then industry using perishable inputs, fruit and vegetable processing is very understandable. So those raw material intensive industries, also industries that use perishable input, they should be close to the site of raw material. So we call them material-oriented industries. Okay, and the purpose is to save the shipping costs. And this is a slide that shows two pictures. One show both are the important copper mining site in the United States. A major site is in Arizona, so Bisbee, Arizona, and this is the largest copper mining site in the United States. Another one is in somewhere close to Salt Lake City in Utah. So you can see both sides, you have this open pit operation, and they open a very big, exposed to the open air, and to efficiently use big trucks to shift the copper ore out of the mine for further processing. As a result, on this map, we can really see the smelting processing facility locations. They tend to be close to the site of uh, mining production. So this on this map, the mine capacities are represented by a right circle, and smelting facilities are represented by yellow circle. You can see that because of the existence of those mining facilities, those processing facilities are very close to those mining facilities. So that in order to reduce the shipping cost, the heavy material can be very expensive. So that's give us an example of how the raw material become an important factor in deciding where you should put the processing facilities location. And this is a map that shows the location of integrated steel mill. Integrated steel mills are the facilities that are starting the making steel from scratch. They begin to use iron ore, coal, and some other minerals, and put all the heavy materials in a furnace and on a higher temperature to get rid of the impurities to extract steel out of the iron ore. So this is from scratch, eventually get a final product. That is what we call integrated steel mill. Then on the early days of integrated steel mill, the location tend to be close to the site of material. Okay, the blue dots tend to indicate an older location, and red dot also indicates some traditional integrated steel mill location. See, those locations tend to be along the side where you have the coal mines. Also, you could have the iron ore. So these were all kind of tend to be an inland location. Later on, there's a tendency for the steel industry for integrated steel mills to move towards water, you know, move towards the ocean, move toward the Great Lakes area. The reason for that is to be closer to resources that come from overseas or from more remote areas. We know in Minnesota, um, in this Masabi range, they have high quality iron ore. To take advantage of the availability of iron ore, you can build steel facilities by the Great Lakes, then use vessels to ship those iron ore through Great Lakes to those integrated steel mills. So that is what causes the location of integrated steel mill move from inland toward water bodies. And here, Baltimore also become important location for integrated steel mill because when the inland resources run out, they begin to use overseas imported raw materials, and that's when they feel the need to move the integrated steel mill to the port city, such as Baltimore, also in the south as well. So this is you can see the general trend of integrated steel mill. They basically follow the raw material. If the raw material is inland, those integrated steel mill will be inland. But if now they have to use more remote resources, they would move toward the water body so that they can have a better access to those remote resources. Okay. So raw material is a very important factors that determine the location of industries. Market is also important for some industries. We have industries that are with a very high cost of shipping final product. Examples here, vehicle assembly, furniture making, and soft things. Vehicle assembling is industry that uh, if you shape the whole completed vehicle, you would require to shape whole vehicle together. Uh, Therefore, within the vehicle, the driving space is empty space, and that empty space cannot be efficiently used. So that's something you try to avoid shipping assembled vehicle long distance. So what manufacturers are trying to do is that they ship the parts of a vehicle long distance, and they set up a few assembly lines facilities closest to the site of a big vehicle markets. And close to the market, they put all the parts together into the vehicle, into the completed vehicle, and they only ship the completed vehicle medium distance to the market. So that would avoid shipping completed vehicle long distance because the parts can be very nicely, tightly packed and ship them long distance without wasting any spaces on the transportation, on any mode of transportation. And that is better than shipping a completed vehicle long distance where a lot of empty spaces within the vehicle you cannot put anything else within the empty space. That is a kind of a waste of space, waste of shipping facilities. Same reason for furniture. If you shape a assembled table, under the table, there's between four legs, you really cannot put anything in between. You may damage this furniture. Therefore, What they try to do is to pack all the parts nicely and pack and tightly shape those parts long distance toward some market locations where at the location of the market they assemble those parts into a complete furniture. And one extreme example is that in recent decades, many people had the experience of buying furniture from Walmart, Target, and then you see a big pack of parts that say assembly required. So that means for consumers, they have to buy all the existing parts and ship the parts to their home. And they assemble the furniture into a final product within their home. Now the site of consumption, the site of a market become the site of production and produced by the consumer themselves. This is a very good example to see how market can become a very important factor in determining the location of production. Soft drinks, people believe that most of the ingredient of soft drinks is water, and we can find water easily in many places. So instead of you ship a lot of liquid long distance, we can just ship some critical ingredients to the market, and at the marketplace we make soft drink, any beverages as well. Okay. Also, those products that are highly perishable, such as bakeries, food processing, that you want to make sure that the bread cakes are fresh. So you want those products to be close to the site of consumption. So in addition, industry that must adjust market instantly, fashion industries, local newspapers, they need to be follow what's happening in among the consumers, among the fashions, also among local events. You could not have local newspapers that were made in a different country because it simply cannot keep up with what's going on within local community. So all these industries, the industry with high shipping costs of a final product, the industries that are involved the product with high perishability, the industries that had be quickly, swiftly adjust to the change in the market, these kind of industry should be close to the site of a market. So we call them market-oriented industries. Here we look at this a map that shows the beverage production. And beverage production could be soft drink, could also be beer. You can see that all these sites involve close to the site of a big market. Look at in Illinois, you see that this site is called Chicago, big city, and that is where you have a production facilities. Here in southern Illinois, close to St. Louis, St. Louis is also a big city, and that's why you also have a big soft beverage facility there, Anheuser-Busch, InBev. Okay, so these are all illustrations of how those industries that involve a lot of water, they should be close to the site of a market. Now, this is a map that shows the location of mini mills of the U.S. Mini mills are those steel industries. Rather than being integrated steel mill, they make the mill from scrap metals. In the mini mill, they take scrap metals that come from old machine. They get parts and metal parts, so they use scrap metal as input, and they send electricity to those scrap metal to melt them down. Then they get rid of impurities and put some kind of other minerals to make alloys, to make some steel product with certain specifications. And therefore, the mini mill location are required to be close to the location where you could find a lot of scrap metals. Where you can find a lot of scrap metals? Big cities, the big cities. So mini mills, the rise of mini mills in the steel industry of the U.S. have uh, pose a severe competition to the integrated steel mill. So those are now Minimill has become very competitive in making high quality steels compared with integrated steel mill. And now you can see the Minimill is all over the place in the U.S., especially in locations with big urban markets. Other inputs that are important for industry. First, we talk about the capital. Capital, well, there's one term, a different term for capital is sunk capital. Sunk capital refer to those physical capital that that have already been put in the ground, the factory building. One example is factory building. A factory building, the parking lot, the airport runway, so any existing facilities that has been there on the ground, that it becomes very difficult to move. And as soon as you put them down in one location, it's almost impossible to move a factory building along with all the machines. But also, a factory in one location tend to form some business relationship with the industry in the surrounding areas. So if you move the factory away to a different place, you will lose those business connections. Therefore, as soon as a particular factory facilities is down to the ground, it tends to remain to be there. So it has strong inertia to stay there because to move it to a different place, it costs a lot of money. It is not possible. Labor. Labor is input from, labor refers to the work from the workers. Here we have so-called physical labor that refer to the people do the job that will involve long-skilled work and semi-skilled work the work involve less educated workers and tend to be routinized work and also workers are paid hourly wage. So this kind of physical labor very crucial to industry that use a lot of cheap labor. And that is the basis of manufacturing migration from MADCs to LDCs in the last few decades. On the other hand, we also have skilled office work that involve educated salary workers, and their work involve more creative work and at some point decision making as well. And these kind of work, these kind of labor are important to knowledge intensive industries. So if you have work that involve software development, programming, the product design, these tend to be work that involve the skilled labor work. And previously we talked about quaternary activities, and in quaternary activity contain a lot of work that involve skilled office work. And now, after many traditional manufacturing jobs have gone away, these are the kind of work that arise to replace those traditional manufacturing labor. But another issue about labor is workers' militancy and the strength of workers' union. Here we are talking about the issue of right to work issue. The right to work issue has been important labor issues in the United States. Right to work refer to these kind of notions that some workers' union believe that a union negotiate with management for the term of work on behalf of all workers in a facility in the industry. Therefore, after deal was reached, after agreement is reached, that is the contribution by workers' union. Therefore, all workers will enjoy the benefit of that term of work. Therefore, all workers, regardless whether they are the members of a union or not, they all should pay a fee to the unions. So that's This intend to strengthen the power of the workers' union. But those states that emphasize the right to work uh, claim that those non-union members, they don't have to pay any fee to the union. They have a right to work. That is their right to have a work uh, in the manufacturing facilities. So they do not have to pay any fees. So all these states that believe that non-union members do not have to pay a fee to the union are called the right to work states. So on this map, you can see uh, more of the states are right to work states. So basically, most of the states in the South are right to work states. We know that historically, uh, the South is the agricultural region, and the the development of industry and manufacturing is more recent events. So the union in the South is not as strong, and that's why you can see that most of the states in the South they seem to more emphasize the right for non-union members to get access to work in any manufacturing facilities. On the other hand, in the North, where industry have a longer time, and workers' union are stronger, where you see that you have a fewer right to work state. In the West, you have just several liberal states on the coast, so they also are not the right to work states. Okay. Now, current issue is do union help or hurt the U.S. industry? This is one question that you guys can think about and to prepare to answer and discuss questions on the next test. Now we look at this. We look at this map. Is the U.S.-Mexican border. We know since the 1960s, you have the U.S. Reached some agreement with Mexico to allow some American manufacturing facilities to be located in Mexico and to take advantage of cheap labor in Mexico. Then the final product eventually shipped back into the market in the U.S. So that is a clear evidence that they take advantage of less organized union on part of Mexico, and therefore the cheap labor, and that bring a higher profit to American manufacturing enterprises. So that is one example of how American industry take advantage of this less organized union and therefore cheap labor to make the location decisions for their production facilities. So Maquiladora project between the U.S. and Mexico. And this is a slide that shows clear differences between different countries in terms of the labor costs. Okay, so that will give a great incentive for the U.S. manufacturing, the Western manufacturing facilities to move to the overseas. Not just the traditional manufacturing, but also IT managers as well. Here on the left side, you can see the average pay of IT managers for some developed countries. On the right side, you see the low pay for IT managers for some developing countries. And so in the long run, we're not only going to see that the traditional manufacturing have incentive to go to developing countries, but some segment of high-tech industry also would have a strong incentive to migrate to those low-paying developing countries. So this is a map that shows the location of automobile parts facilities. And the red dots are the U.S.-owned parts industry, and the green dots are the foreign-owned auto part facilities. So we know that traditionally the North is the center of manufacturing of the automobiles, but in last few decades we see the spread of automobile industries from the traditional north toward the south. The reason is that in the south, traditionally, agricultural unions are not very organized, not very strong, and therefore a lot of auto makers move their facilities to the south. In addition, there's a good transportation, good weather, and labor cost is lower in the south than in the north in general. So there's various reasons for foreign automakers to move to the new location in the south. And part of that is uh, cheap labor costs, also less organized, weaker union in the south.